AGSM has delivered in the last cohort for the ACDMP, 50% have moved into more senior roles. This AGSM is a game changer for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. The Aboriginal Career Development and Mentor Program run by AGSM within Transport is a pathway into other platforms such as the EIELP. I'm really proud of the Aboriginal Career Development and Mentor Program run by AGSM within Transport. The last cohort, 50% of participants moved into more senior roles, and that was the largest cohort ever.
And the things you're talking about before, we said that's not replicated anywhere else in Australia?
Yeah. Having a leadership program focused on Aboriginal people, and with 50% moving into more senior roles after participating in the program, it's not replicated anywhere.
Can you say that again and maybe say it's not replicated anywhere in Australia?
The public, yeah. Having 50% of participants moving into more senior roles after completing the program is not replicated anywhere in Australia. Responsible leadership means to me is being authentic, being open, being trustworthy, being reliable. I think they're all very important values.
What does responsible leadership mean to you, Mark?
Responsible leadership to me means being authentic. It's important to be honest, truthful, reliable, and kind.
What kind of impact can a responsible leader have on the world?
A responsible leader can have a huge impact on the world. I look at my Aboriginal culture, and our values are to look after each other, to care for country, and country will care for us. And I think those values today are very important.
What do you think is the most important attribute of an effective, responsible leader?
Could I ask you to say that again, please, Jen?
What do you think is the most important attribute of an effective, responsible leader? So to be an effective, responsible leader.
Yeah. To be an effective, responsible leader, it's important that you have vision, that you have an understanding of your goals. It's important that you are open and that you listen.
Right.
We connect that to E. How has AGSM been part of that?
Yeah.
And AGSM
Yeah.
helped me be that
Yeah.
responsible leader.
AGSM has helped me to be a responsible leader. It's given me tools and frameworks to really shape any situation that I come up against.
Great. How has you being grounded in responsible leadership helped you create a positive ripple effect in the world?
Being a responsible leader, I believe I've had an impact on other people. I'm a big believer of being a role model for others to follow. I feel I'm someone that is very reliable. You get what you see. I'm very authentic, and I believe I'm a gifted storyteller, and I really enjoy sharing my stories with others.
How important is as a responsible leader, what impact can you have on your culture?
Being a responsible leader, you can have a big impact on your culture. It's important that you focus on your cultural beliefs and share them when you can to others. And that, in a way, is educating other people on some of the practices and protocols that we have in our culture. it's interesting, many people ask me for advice, and I see them. They're people that really want to make a difference, but they feel like they're walking on eggshells. My job is to remove those eggshells.
Yeah, that's great. And
the AGSM's EIELP is a program that captures the collective's purpose for everyone that's participating in that program. The EIELP is a program that captures a purpose for all that participate. It's unique, and it really lays the platform for our future executive leaders. The EIELP equips all participants for a collective purpose. The EIELP equips the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander participants for a collective purpose to promote their future careers. How cool is it that we have in Australia the oldest continuous culture on the planet? That's something I'm so proud of, and I think all Australians feel the same. It's important that we learn from those 65,000 years. When you think Aboriginal people have cared for this country, our Mother Earth, for many, many thousands of years, it's so important that we learn how to best care for this country, how to best look after our Mother Earth, which we are all connected to. Nova Peris said this, which I found quite profound. She said, "We don't want to take away the last 232 years. We don't want to do that. But we want to give you 65,000 years." That's pretty powerful stuff. The world's oldest continuous culture can teach us a great deal. Nova Peris once said, "We don't want to take away the last 230 odd years. No, we don't. But we want to give you 65,000 years. So please, join us."
another version, keep going.
Yeah.
We're loving this part.
Yeah. The oldest continuous culture on this planet can give us so much we can learn from and embrace. Nova Peris said, "We don't want to take away the last 230 odd years. No, we don't want to do that. But what we want to give you 65,000 years. So come and join us." If I was telling another leader how to be the best responsible leader that they can be, I would ask them to keep an open mind, to continue their learning journey, to take up opportunities like offered by AGSM, because we're learning all the time. To be a responsible leader, you need to have an open mind. You need to understand that you're on a continual learning journey. And it's important that you embrace different ideas and different cultures. To be a responsible leader, it is so important to keep an open mind, to listen to others. And we're on a continuous learning journey. So we're learning all the time. For example, the programs offered by AGSM is a great opportunity. Responsible leadership is very important right now. There's so much change going on in the world, and I think it's so important that we lead by example, that we do show our... I feel it is so important to be a responsible leader today. There's so much going on in the world. So it's so important to be the best person you can be, to be your best self, to be a role model, for people to follow you, for you to be authentic, to share your vision, to make this world a better place.
And what's...
Good to go whenever you want.
My legacy on the world. I was raised by a single mother, a very proud Aboriginal woman who made many sacrifices in her life to raise myself and my brother. And I know everything I've done, everything I achieve, I can thank her. So I want to continue that legacy, and I want my children to be the best selves that they can be.
Say that again.
Yeah. Was that okay?
Yeah, it was
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then maybe, but also maybe talk about what it means to be your best self.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll just ask that. What does it mean to be your best self, Mark?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. This is the film, but when my mum passed, I did the eulogy, and I spoke about all the good things that happened in her life. And a takeaway for me, I was really sad to think that I had to wait till her passing for me to celebrate her life. And it made me realise then that it's so important for people you care about, people you love, that you remind them almost whenever you can about how much they mean to you and how they've influenced your life by being their best self.
What does it mean to bring your best self to work, Mark?
Bringing your best self to work is really bringing the best person you are. Those moments that you're proud of, that you recall and you reflect on, but doing that every day.
What does it mean to bring your best self to work, Mark?
Bringing your best self to work.
Sorry, that's noisy again.
It's not too bad.
No, tell me again.
Yeah.
I'll let you know, yeah.
Bringing your best self to work every day is so important. It's an opportunity to influence others. It's an opportunity to change mindsets. So it's important for you to understand that people are watching you all the time. So it's important to be your best self every day.
Yeah, great.
Hi Jodie, I'm Mark Champley, a proud Kamilaroi man. My mob comes from far northwestern New South Wales. I'm currently on secondment to DPI, but my substantive role is with Transport for New South Wales. Hi, Yama. Yama is hello in Kamilaroi language. My name's Mark Champley. I'm a proud Kamilaroi man. My mob comes from far northwestern New South Wales. I'm currently on secondment with DPI, but my substantive role is with Transport for New South Wales. Yama. Yama, everyone. I'm Mark Champley, a proud Kamilaroi man. My mob comes from far northwestern New South Wales. I work for Transport for New South Wales, and I've had a long career in moving people from place to place. Hi, I'm Mark Champley, a proud Kamilaroi man with a long career with Transport for New South Wales.
Hi, I'm Frances Atkins from Giveable. Yeah, so we've been working on Giveable for the last 2 years now. I think was the first time we first publicly pitched the concept to investors and companies. Essentially, we believe, and we've held this belief for a number of years now, that every business everywhere will need to demonstrate their sustainability credentials, and we've built a platform to enable businesses to do that, and then also help companies and governments identify suppliers and businesses to work with that align with their sustainability objectives. Yeah, so our currency is data. So we're capturing a huge amount of data on businesses around their sustainability credentials, attributes and initiatives. How we deliver that data is very flexibly. So we have a front-end platform that businesses can access. We have a supplier portal that suppliers can access. And then we also are developing APIs to deliver that data direct to distribution channels and clients. So for us, it's not so much about how we deliver the data, because for us we can be flexible. It's more how we maintain and structure that data. Yeah, so Giveable works in a number of different ways. We have a front-end platform that is client-facing. We also have a supplier portal that suppliers can come on and register their credentials. And then we also deliver the data flexibly via APIs and direct integration. So Giveable is a platform that helps buyers connect with suppliers aligned with their sustainability objectives. So we're a data platform, not quite a marketplace, but we do have buyers and suppliers that connect on the platform all along sustainability themes and objectives. So it's a bit of a story. My sister and I are co-founders of Giveable, and before Giveable there were a couple of other projects that we worked on, both with a sustainability or social impact objective. But Naomi and I, we come from long corporate backgrounds, and ultimately we felt like we should create something that engaged the business community and the corporate community. And so we recognised that there was a need for businesses to... sorry, let me think about this. So we wanted to take these sustainability and social impact concepts into the corporate or business arena, and we recognised that there was an opportunity to transition from this concept of corporate social responsibility to sustainability, and have businesses engage by activating their purchasing power. This is incredibly important because we've got businesses setting 2030, 2040, 2050 targets. These targets can't be met unless businesses engage their suppliers. In carbon emissions alone, up to 70 to 80% of emissions are actually from the supply chain. So it's impossible to achieve these targets unless we activate the value chain. So sustainable and social or diverse procurement has been difficult for businesses because they simply don't have the visibility through the supply chain on these attributes. So when we say we don't want to give businesses any excuses, we want to make this super easy for them to do. We don't want them to have any excuse to say, no, it's too hard, it's too expensive, it's too difficult. We want to take all those excuses away. My formal title is co-founder and CEO of Giveable, but I do everything. We have a growing team. It's mostly split down the middle between sustainability and technology. So my role is moving towards making sure the teams are moving in the right direction. But, it will be from setting out the strategy to designing the pricing structure to designing the platform and the UI and the UX of the platform to working with developers to developing our algorithms. It really is, I do spread myself thin, but I'm sure all startup founders spread themselves thin. Yep. Yeah, it is very hectic, but I love that, and I also like doing lots of different things. When I worked in corporate, I had a very defined role, and that's, mostly what I did for the best part of the day. Whereas every day I wake up and I'm not quite sure what's going to come at me or and what I might be working on. So, I really love that about working in startups. I think my specialist skill is that I'm a generalist. I'm quite happy to look at anything. My background is in law and finance, so obviously I feel very comfortable dealing in contracts or working in numbers. But equally, I've learnt to understand marketing and business development and technology and design. And so, for that, I've very much developed a generalist skill set. But when I think about my legacy, what we really want to develop with Giveable is a platform to enable businesses to make impactful decisions. Give them the information, the data, the insights that they need and make it accessible and transparent so many, many businesses all around the world can do that. So procurement spend is the second biggest spend outside employee costs. businesses are spending billions. It's almost an impossible number to to quantify. So often when people say to me, "Oh, well, what's the market size?" and business spend it's almost infinite in many ways. And for me, that just represents a massive opportunity for businesses to apply their purchasing power in an impactful way. And I hope that we start to bridge the gap of giving them that information that they need to be able to make better quality decisions around who they engage with, how they purchase, and who their trading partners are.
And what's the impact of them spending that more wisely?
So the impact of them spending that more wisely, if they're choosing to engage with a sustainable supplier or a diverse supplier or a supplier that is generating social impact, there are flow-on effects to the community and the economy for doing that versus businesses or trading partners that don't have that impact. So, the potential for impact from the platform that we're developing is huge, and that's incredibly exciting.
Why is
But when we talk to clients, we see that they really struggle to assess and understand some of their purchasing decisions around sustainability because it is an incredibly complex space. And if decisions are really hard to make, then, we're not going to be able to make, better quality decisions around how we apply our purchasing, how we spend. Sorry, this is...
No, great.
So what was the question again? What are we going to lose? Okay. So I think if Giveable didn't exist, I think some of this data would still be hidden and unavailable. I think businesses would still be struggling to make better decisions around how they apply their purchasing power. I think some of the diverse and social businesses that are typically SMEs would not have this voice that the platform gives them. I think what's really exciting about what we do is you can see the professionals working at these corporates, their eyes light up when they realise that they can be making an impactful decision that's part of their job. And I think that's really empowering for businesses to be able to do that. Well, I think, in the past, you'd often have people saying it was too expensive, it was too costly, sustainable choices, they're more expensive. I think the world's coming around to understanding that sustainable choices can compete on price, but there are also other factors that they're now realising that they need to consider. For example, at the end of the useful life of a product, what do you do with it? Can you recycle it? Can it be repurposed? Can it be used as an input into something else? And if you're purchasing an unsustainable product that doesn't have those attributes, ultimately there's going to be a higher cost to the business because they're going to have to dispose of it some way, and that's going to come at a cost. So I think businesses are getting around this concept of the price difference. But I think other reasons are that it can take a lot of time to uncover a sustainable alternative and then to really understand what makes it sustainable. That's a process and that can take time, and we want to shorten that by giving businesses the information that they need in a way that they can digest it over and over again really, really quickly. Yeah, so we believe that if we can help businesses make decisions more quickly about sustainable choices, then that's a benefit to everyone. It's a benefit to the business itself. They're doing business in the way that they need to do business. It's a benefit to the suppliers that are actively building this into their business models. And so we think that's incredibly important if we're going to achieve, the goals that, the world has set for us. I did my undergrad at UNSW, so I was always going to consider AGSM as an option for my MBA. I think there are a few reasons that went into my decision-making process. Firstly, AGSM is it offers a leading MBA. It's recognised by my corporate community, it's recognised by my peers, and it's also recognised by the international community. So that was pretty important. The second thing that was quite important to me was the quality of the content and the teaching staff. And, you know, having been through a number of, full stop. That was important. I don't know how I knew that beforehand, but probably from my undergrad degree. Yeah. So I chose AGSM for a few reasons. Firstly, it's one of Australia's leading MBAs. And secondly, the teaching staff, the content, it's up to date in the way that it teaches its students. So, you know, right through, we were constantly looking at current case studies where the story hadn't finished yet. So we were sort of, you know, in a way trying to understand what was going to happen. You know, that forward-looking view of the world was really important. Well, there's other reasons why I chose AGSM. Like, I love the campus, I love UNSW. It's where I did my undergrad degree. It's where my family went. So I know those, you know, not as important factors, but for me, there was that connection with the university, which always meant something to me. Yeah, so when I decided so I always knew I wanted to do an MBA. Where I would do it, I wasn't so sure, but I always knew I was going to do an MBA. It was something that it was on my bucket list to do. And in terms of timing, I was working as a financier. I had a feeling that this wasn't going to be, you know, my resting point. I wasn't going to be a financier for the rest of my career. But I also wasn't entirely sure what I was going to do. As I mentioned before, I felt a little bit, I was moving into this generalist sort of skill set. And so whilst that creates opportunities, that also, the flip side of that is that there's almost many things that you could be doing and you're not entirely sure what it is where you best fit. Firstly, I knew I was going to do an MBA. It was always going to happen in my career at some point. But the timing, it was more a question of timing. When was I going to do an MBA? And I'd been in my position at the bank for probably about 6 or 7 years at that time. And I think I knew that was not going to be what I was going to be doing for the rest of my life, that I wanted to try other things and explore other career opportunities. And that was really one of the reasons why I thought it was a good time to start exploring an MBA. So I did start it in 2014, and then I got pregnant. So that sort of threw a bit of a spanner in the works, that I just started it. And I did eventually get through it, but I started it in 2014 and I didn't finish it until the end of 2019. So it took me 5 years, 3 kids later, to finish my MBA. Yeah, they were very supportive. I remember doing a final exam at about 38 weeks pregnant in the big hall. They let me come in early. I think I got a little bit more time to finish the paper. I think my husband came in and he brought me a pillow and, all that kind of stuff. But it was really important for me. I didn't want to be treated differently, but obviously, it can be a little bit more challenging to sit for 2 or 3 hours and write an exam when you're that pregnant. But they were good. I felt supported by the program, but at the same time, I also didn't want to be treated differently throughout the degree. Yeah, I think one of the reasons why I always knew I wanted to do an MBA is because having worked as a lawyer and having worked as a banker, I knew what I knew, but I also knew I had blind spots. And one of the most appealing things about doing an MBA is you get a bird's eye view of all disciplines. And so from that point onwards, you know that you might not have specialist expertise as a marketer, for example, but you know enough to ask the right questions and you know enough to hire the right people to help you in that department. So that's one of the things that I think is most valuable about an MBA. I also think one of the biggest transformations is the way that it trains you to think. So it really turns upside down the ways that you might have approached a problem before doing an MBA versus after doing an MBA. I think I am much more open to many different perspectives. I also think more about the user, so the audience or the user, rather than perhaps my own, being biased perhaps by my own knowledge. I think that's another thing that you become aware of after doing an MBA, and that is your own bias, and also other people's bias. So I think those things, it's not, you can't point to it as clearly as defined knowledge or content, but it's training you to think in a certain way, and I think that's incredibly invaluable. So one of the things I learned at AGSM is, one of the things that they train you to do as part of your MBA at AGSM is the way that you think about problems, the way that you approach solving or designing solutions to problems. And I think one of the key, transformations in the way that I think is understanding my own bias and understanding the bias of others when formulating, those solutions or strategies. I think one of the key things. So again, I came from a legal background and a banking background. An advisory background, essentially. And so people are coming to you for the answers. Whereas in a startup world, I'm trying to get the answers mainly from the customers. I'm trying to figure out, or we're trying to figure out as a team, how to solve a customer problem in the best possible way. And so it's really turned that inside out. Rather than people coming to me, seeking advice, I'm always going out and trying to seek the answers from someone else. Yeah, so I think before AGSM, I was in professional services as a lawyer, and then later as a banker, and people were coming to us or to me for advice. Whereas post my AGSM MBA, it's more about me seeking, it's more about trying to solve a solution for a customer, and so it's me asking a lot of questions, me seeking answers, me trying not to bias people in delivering that answer. So that's a very different way of thinking. So there's actually quite a few courses, but there's a few that stand out. There's in the final year of the AGSM MBA, there's a human-centered design course, and I had never done a course like that before. I think subconsciously understood why it was important, but it wasn't until we did that. We undertook a number of different practical exercises which really demonstrated the value of that type of learning. I think that's... I've forgotten the question again, sorry. I feel like I'm talking so much.
Do you remember course?
There's actually a few courses in that, because I did my MBA over such a long period. It's hard to remember specific courses that I did. But in the last year, there's an executive, what do they call it? They change the name all the time, but it's like an intensive executive year, and they have a human-centered design course, which was incredible. That's one of those courses that totally turns upside down your way of thinking about things, and also the way of thinking about solving problems. I think sometimes, particularly in corporate or advisory, when you've got specialist knowledge, you can be very quick to come to a solution. Whereas this really turns out on its head.
What were some of the skills you learnt at AGSM?
Skills. Self-awareness is a huge one. They really get you to look at the way you behave towards other people, even the way you behave towards yourself in your own way of thinking. and you really do need to examine that very closely during the MBA, and that's an incredible insight into how you currently work and where you can improve. Sorry, I didn't understand the.
So you say AGSM has helped me develop.
Oh, AGSM. Okay.
Yeah. So when I say the question,
okay,
maybe sometimes just repeat the question and start from there.
Yep. So AGSM helped me with self-awareness through a number of the courses that we did. It's almost a theme that runs through the entire executive year of the course, really analysing your own thinking and your interactions with other people. So I think that's a key skill set. I think also, you've got people coming into the MBA with all sorts of different experiences and from different industries at different levels, and very diverse views. And one of the things the AGSM MBA does is really teach you how to collaboratively work with everyone in the team, and really to bring, really extract the value of everyone's unique experience. Yeah, so I finished my AGSM MBA in 2019. I think it was December or November of 2019, and then the pandemic hit. And so, probably couldn't have been better timing to do my MBA because, going into the next 2 years, which were very turbulent, trying to launch a startup in the middle of a pandemic, not being able to meet with clients or investors or even your employees. I haven't met probably the majority of my employees face to face yet. Coming out of the MBA, understanding how to deal with adversity and, changing circumstances, I think really helped, guide me through that period. Yeah, so I think, AGSM is, throughout the MBA, they're trying to put you in challenging situations, whether it be a really challenging problem, strategic problem that you need to solve, or a challenging team dynamic, or a challenging project, whatever it might be. They're always trying to throw you these difficult situations that you need to work through, and then obviously give you, the tools or the frameworks that can help you come to the best possible solution or outcome. So, that's training in a way. It's not content. It's not necessarily, learning in the sense that we're, probably most used to, which is through reading and, videos and the rest of it, or through content-based learning. It's learning through practice and simulating situations, difficult situations. And, that's, yeah, I think that's it. Okay, so if you're thinking about doing an AGS MBA, how do I do this? Trying to get in AGSM all the time is unnatural.
It could just be in, so let's just ask.
Okay, so one of the most valuable aspects of the AGSM MBA is, without a doubt, the networks and access to the alumni. Since I finished my MBA, the number of connections that I have made through either current, past MBA students and then the broader university alumni has, it's been extraordinary. And, people welcome you in, knowing that you've been through this process, you've been through this learning, and you've got to the end. It's sort of like this. It's an acknowledgement, and it opens doors that weren't there before. If I need to talk to, so in the AGSM MBA has it's meant that if I need to talk to someone in a specific industry because I'm interested in understanding more about my client problem, I can get that access. Or, if I wanted to speak to a researcher about, something, new in the field that we're working in, because sustainability is one of those fields, it's evolving all the time, I can get access to those people, and I can have a direct line of communication to these, incredible researchers. In the corporate world, if I want to speak to company A, B, C or D, I know I'm going to be able to find someone that can get me not just into the company, but to the person that is the decision maker that I need to be speaking to in that company. That's unrivaled access that, it just doesn't exist anywhere else. The AGSM Alumni Network The AGSM Alumni Network gives you unrivaled access to industry, to corporations, to the research community, and also to other entrepreneurs, and this innovative community that is being really fostered at the university. The Australian Graduate School of Management gives you unrivaled access to the Alumni Network. I stuffed that up. The Australian Graduate School of Management gives you unrivaled access to the Alumni Network. The Australian Graduate School of Management Alumni Network gives you unrivaled access to industry and companies all around the world. Quite a number of times, even just in the last 2 years and even in the midst of a pandemic, I've been able to access researchers and talk about cutting-edge research in the field of sustainability. I've been able to get mentored by the very best, before doing significant or important pitches to companies or for grants or investors. I have been able to get access to some of the largest companies in Australia, to the decision maker that I need to speak to. I have had amazing support from the university's entrepreneurship division, which is UNSW Founders. It's been, it's really elevated me and our startup. So the 10X Accelerator was a real turning point for us. We went into that accelerator with a completely different concept. So it wasn't Giveable, it was something else. But the team at UNSW Founders really embraced our suggestion that maybe we think of something else that we felt a bit more comfortable with. The team at UNSW really embraced our suggestion that, we explore some other ideas around, in and around our original startup concept. And that's really where Giveable was conceived. The idea of Giveable was conceived and then really propelled forward. So the UNSW 10X Accelerator was where Giveable was conceived. That idea is, Giveable is truly a product of the UNSW 10X Accelerator. We conceived the idea there, and that's where, that was the first accelerator that really propelled us into where we are today. For me, responsible leadership is really about empowering the people around you, giving the people around you a platform to do their best work, to come up with their best ideas, to, think differently about things. That's what responsible leadership means to me. I think the most important attribute of a leader is to really to empower your staff, empower your customers, empower any stakeholder that touches your business or whatever it is that you're leading. I think responsible leadership is infectious. So when people see that you're trying to empower them or their business, they come on board, and that then filters throughout the value chain. So I think one of the most powerful aspects of responsible leadership is it may start with you, but it can filter through and impact many other people. Responsible leadership is incredibly important from a that's a big question. How can I have an impact on the world? If we want the change that businesses and governments and cities all around the world are saying, if we want to achieve the goals that corporates, companies, I know what I want to say. I just need to get it right. If we want to achieve the change that industry, governments and cities around the world want to achieve in what is a relatively short time frame, whether it be 2030, 2040 or 2050, it is imperative that we have responsible leaders. and no single leader is going to be able to affect the scale of change that we need. So we need many responsible leaders, from the micro businesses to the large corporations to all levels of government. It needs to really infiltrate the way we operate. I think the AGSM MBA has transformed the way that I think. And I think that's one of the most powerful things that, one of the most powerful transformations for me, as a person, as a leader, has given me. So, the AGSM MBA has transformed the way that I think, and that is one of the most valuable things that I've taken away from the whole experience.